As we grow older, life changes in quiet but profound ways. Children move away, spouses pass on, and the rhythm of our days begins to slow. It's in these moments, often silent and in between, that we begin to realize something deeper. We don't just miss the noise, we miss the connection. Because no matter how many candles are on the birthday cake, the need for friendship never fades. In fact, for many older adults, a simple phone call, a walk in the park, or a shared story over tea means more now than ever before. Friendship in our golden years isn't about popularity or parties. It's about presence, someone who sees you, remembers with you, and simply cares that you're still here. Why friendship matters more with age. Many people assume that aging means becoming more self-contained, more solitary, but in truth, the opposite is needed. At this stage of life, our emotional, mental, and even physical health are deeply tied to human connection. Study after study has shown that seniors with close friendships live longer, recover faster from illness, and experience lower rates of depression and memory loss. But beyond the science is something more powerful: joy, belonging, a reason to get dressed and step outside. Senior friendships often run deeper than words. They're built on shared losses, quiet wisdom, and the kind of laughter that doesn't need explanation. They remind us who we are, not who we were, but who we still have the right to be. In this video, we'll explore 6 heartfelt, research-backed reasons why friendship is not just comforting in later life. It's essential, not just for companionship, but for healing, purpose, and the kind of happiness that makes aging a little more golden. 1. Friendship eases loneliness and reduces depression. The healing power of being seen. There's a kind of silence that settles in when someone you love is no longer there. It's not just the quiet of an empty room. It's the absence of conversation, of shared memories, of being known. George, 74, from Indiana, knows that silence all too well. After his wife passed away, the days blurred together. He'd wake up, make coffee, and sit by the same window. The TV played in the background, but it wasn't company. For months, he barely spoke to anyone. It wasn't just that I was alone, George says. It was that I felt invisible. But then, at the suggestion of his daughter, George joined a local seniors book club. He didn't go expecting much, just a place to pass the time. What he didn't expect was Hank, another widower, just a few years older, sitting across the table with a similar kind of quiet in his eyes. They started talking after the meeting. A week later, they met for lunch. Now, it's become a weekly tradition. We don't talk about our grief all the time, George says. We talk about baseball, old movies, our grandkids, but the laughter, I didn't think I'd laugh again, and now I do. George's story isn't unique, and that's what makes it powerful. Loneliness isn't just sadness, it's a health risk. In older adults, chronic loneliness has been linked to increased rates of depression and anxiety, higher blood pressure and heart disease, weakened immune function, and even cognitive decline. But friendship? Friendship has the opposite effect. Human connection, even in its simplest forms, acts like a balm. It reminds us we're not forgotten. It pulls us out of our heads and back into the world. It gives us someone to check on, and someone who checks on us. You don't need a big group. You don't need daily outings or constant activity. Sometimes just one consistent person can bring you back to life. And it's never too late. Whether you're 65 or 85, friendship can begin with something as simple as joining a club or senior center, volunteering once a week, attending a church group, community class, or local event, or just saying hello to someone new with an open heart. George says he still misses his wife every day. But now, instead of grieving in silence, he shares those memories with someone who understands. Hank doesn't replace her, but he reminds me that life's not over yet, and that laughter still lives in me. So if you've been feeling alone, or quietly fading into the background, maybe this is the moment to reach out. Because connection isn't just comforting. For the soul and for the brain, it's healing. 2. Friends motivate movement and outdoor activity. Because moving together feels lighter. We all know that staying active is important as we get older. Doctors say it, magazines say it, we even tell it to ourselves. But let's be honest, knowing you should move more and actually wanting to do it are two very different things, especially when you're doing it alone. That's why, for Linda, 68, from Arizona, everything changed the day her neighbor knocked on the door and said, "Would you want to try a short walk with me tomorrow morning?" At first, Linda hesitated. She hadn't been walking much lately. Most of her days were spent watching TV, sipping coffee, and telling herself, maybe tomorrow. She worried her knees would hurt. She didn't want to slow anyone down. But something in her said, just try it once. So the next morning, she put on her sneakers and met her neighbor at the sidewalk. They walked just 10 minutes. No rush, no pressure. Just conversation and fresh air. The next day, they did it again. And again. Now they walk 5 mornings a week, rain or shine. I feel stronger. I sleep better. And I actually look forward to it, Linda says. Not because of the steps, but because of the company. And that's the quiet power of friendship. It turns healthy routines into shared moments. What felt like a chore becomes something to enjoy. It's no longer, I have to walk. It's, I get to walk with her. Studies show that seniors who have an exercise partner are more likely to stick with routines, move more often and with more variety, experience less joint stiffness and fatigue, and enjoy better mental health and sleep quality. But the truth is, it's not just about the movement. It's about the motivation behind it. When you know someone is waiting for you at the corner, when you're swapping stories between steps, or admiring flowers on your neighbor's lawn together, you don't just move more, you live more. It doesn't have to be a big commitment. A short daily walk, a bit of gardening together, even chair stretches in the living room while chatting. The key is doing it with someone, so it doesn't feel like work. It feels like friendship. Linda says she never imagined something so small could have such a big impact. It's not about speed or miles. It's about being seen, being heard, and getting outside of my 4 walls, literally and emotionally. So if your days have started to blend together and movement feels like a burden, reach out to someone, or say yes when they reach out to you. Because when a friend walks beside you, every step feels lighter. 3. Socializing keeps the mind sharp. Because the brain loves company. They say the brain is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it stays. But using your brain doesn't always mean puzzles or memory games. Sometimes, it simply means talking, laughing, and sharing life with others. Just ask Bill, 80, from Pennsylvania. Every Tuesday morning, Bill heads to a little cafe near his home. There, a group of longtime friends gathers around a small table. They drink coffee, play board games, tease each other, and tell stories. Some they've shared a dozen times, others brand new. Bill's daughter used to worry about his memory. He was slowing down, misplacing things, repeating himself. But after a few months of these weekly gatherings, she noticed a change. "Dad seems mentally sharper," she said. "He remembers more. He tells stories again. He's more engaged." What changed? Not medication, not supplements, just connection. Because regular social interaction does more than warm the heart. It stimulates the brain. Here's what scientists are discovering. Engaging conversations challenge memory, vocabulary, and focus. Laughing and storytelling activate multiple areas of the brain at once. And consistent socializing slows cognitive decline, even reducing the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. In fact, one long-term study found that seniors with strong social ties maintained better mental function over time, even more than those who focused solely on brain games. Why? Because conversation is dynamic. It's unpredictable. It requires attention, emotion, memory, and quick thinking. All things the brain needs to stay active. And more importantly, it's fun. Bill says the best part of his week isn't the coffee or the games. It's the people. We talk about everything and nothing, he laughs. And somehow, I always feel more awake when I leave. You don't need a big group or a fancy plan. Even 1 or 2 regular connections can make a huge difference. Here are a few simple ways to bring more social connection into your routine. Join a weekly book club, coffee circle, or hobby group. Call a friend and schedule a recurring phone chat or lunch date. Volunteer somewhere local, the library, the community center, a school, or just take the first step. Say hello, start a conversation, make space for someone to enter your day, because your brain doesn't just need vitamins. It needs voices, laughter, and a reason to stay present. Bill's daughter said it best. The more connected he became, the more himself he became again. So if you've been feeling foggy, forgetful, or withdrawn, maybe it's not your memory. Maybe it's just time for a little more connection, because staying sharp doesn't mean going it alone. 4. Friends help you process grief and emotional challenges. When words don't heal, but presence does. There are some pains in life that don't go away. They simply change shape. Loss, illness, disappointment. Things we carry silently, especially as we grow older. And while time may soften the edges, grief rarely leaves us completely. Carol, 72, from Florida, knows this deeply. A few years ago, Carol lost her son to illness. She didn't have the words. She didn't want to talk, so she did what many grieving hearts do. She withdrew. She stopped going to church, stopped joining community lunches. The house stayed quiet, and so did she. I felt like no one would understand, Carol said, and I didn't want to make people uncomfortable with my sadness. But then, one afternoon, her neighbor knocked on the door, a woman about her age. She didn't come with advice. She didn't try to cheer Carol up. She simply said, "Would you like to come over for tea?" What Carol didn't know at the time was that this neighbor had also lost a child years before. Over hot tea and quiet pauses, something began to shift. "She didn't fix it," Carol said, "but she made me feel less alone. That changed everything." That's the quiet power of friendship, not to erase grief, but to sit with it, to say, "I see your pain and I'm still here." Grief at any age is difficult, but in later life, it can feel especially isolating. Friends pass, children move away. Our circles shrink, and yet the emotional weight we carry of memories, regrets, or loss can feel heavier than ever. But connection lightens the load. A listening ear, a nod of understanding, a shared story. These moments don't solve grief, but they help us carry it. Research shows that seniors who maintain close emotional connections recover from loss more steadily, experience lower rates of depression and prolonged grief, and regain meaning and joy more quickly over time. Why? Because being heard, truly heard, tells the heart, you're not walking through this alone. You don't need to say the perfect thing. You don't need someone who has all the answers. Sometimes, all you need is presence, patience, and shared humanity. Carol eventually rejoined her community. She now volunteers at a support group for grieving parents, not to preach, but to listen. "If I can be the neighbor with tea for someone else," she says, "then my pain has a purpose." So if you're carrying something heavy, or know someone who is, don't be afraid to reach out, or let someone in. Because friendship in our later years isn't always about laughter. Sometimes, it's about sitting quietly in the dark together until the light finds its way back in. 5. Positive friendships are linked to longer lifespan because connection is life-giving. We often think of health as something measured in numbers: blood pressure, cholesterol, medications taken each morning. But there's one powerful influence on health that's often overlooked, and it's not found in a pill bottle. It's friendship. Yes, that weekly coffee with a neighbor, that phone call with an old classmate, or the simple joy of being remembered on your birthday. These aren't just emotional comforts. They are, quite literally, life-giving. According to studies from the National Institute on Aging, seniors with strong social ties don't just feel better, they live longer. Compared to those who are isolated, older adults with regular positive connections have lower risk of heart disease, fewer chronic conditions, better immune response, and even a reduced chance of developing Alzheimer's or dementia. And the impact is profound, often equal to or greater than quitting smoking, eating well, or exercising regularly. Why? Because connection gives us a reason to show up each day, to get dressed, to eat well, to move, to care for ourselves and for someone else. Loneliness, on the other hand, can be just as damaging as any illness. It increases stress hormones, disrupts sleep, and lowers motivation. But when someone checks in, when someone remembers you exist, the body responds with life. You might not realize it, but simply being part of a friendship, even just one, can help regulate your nervous system, boost your mood, reduce inflammation, and help your body heal faster after illness or surgery. It's not about how many friends you have. It's about having someone who sees you, hears you, and shares the little joys of daily life. So if you're wondering how to age well, yes, eat your greens. Yes, take your walk. But also, call your friend, reach out, reconnect, laugh again. Because a friend doesn't just brighten your day. They may actually help you live more days. Even science agrees. The heart beats stronger when it knows it's not alone. And if you're thinking, but I don't have anyone right now, it's never too late to begin. Attend that community class. Join a walking group. Say hello to your neighbor. The spark of connection can start with one small, brave moment. Because health isn't just about staying alive. It's about having someone to live for and with. 6. Friendship allows you to be yourself, not just a role. The freedom to just be you. As we move through life, we wear many names: mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, husband, wife, caregiver, volunteer. And each of those roles holds meaning, responsibility, love, even legacy. But sometimes we miss being known, not for what we do, but for who we are. That's what Nancy, 70, from Colorado, realized over coffee one morning. With my grandkids, I'm grandma, she smiled. With my kids, I'm mom. But with my best friend Sarah, I'm just Nancy. No one's asking her what's for dinner. No one needs her to give advice, make a decision, or be the strong one. She gets to show up exactly as she is, quiet or chatty, wise or silly, strong or tearful. And that freedom, it's rare, and it's healing. Because as we age, many of us find ourselves caught in roles that no longer reflect our full selves. We're caregivers, helpers, background support. But who sees the woman beneath the title? That's where friendship comes in. True friendship gives us a place where we don't have to perform or protect, where we can laugh too loud, reminisce about teenage mischief, or confess fears we don't say out loud to family. It's where we can be playful, lighthearted, even ridiculous, without being judged. Studies show that friendships where older adults feel seen as themselves, not just in family roles, lead to higher self-esteem, better emotional regulation, and a deeper sense of identity and purpose. Why? Because in those moments of honest connection, we remember, I am still me, not just someone's mother or grandmother or spouse, but a full person with dreams, humor, thoughts, and stories that matter. Nancy says her weekly walks with Sarah, aren't just about the exercise. We talk about everything, our old crushes, things that annoy us. We even swear sometimes, she laughed. It's like I get to exhale. And that's the gift, a safe place to let your guard down, to not have to be strong or cheerful or put together, to be vulnerable, raw, funny, and fully yourself. Friendship in this way isn't just about companionship. It's about recognition, someone who sees you beyond the titles. So if you've been living mostly in roles, quietly wondering where you went, maybe it's time to call an old friend or make a new one, because you're not just someone's parent or partner. You're still you, and you still deserve space to be that person. As we get older, many things become optional. What time we wake up, how we spend our afternoons, even what we choose to prioritize. But friendship, that's not optional. It's essential. You don't need a big circle or constant activity. Sometimes, just one person who truly listens, who understands you without needing an explanation, can make all the difference in your day and in your life. If you're lucky enough to have that kind of friend, cherish them. Reach out, thank them, show up. And if you don't have that connection yet, know this: it's never too late to start. It can begin with something simple: a smile to a neighbor, a short phone call, a visit to a community event, or even a shared cup of tea. The smallest gestures often open the biggest doors. Friendship in our later years isn't about having people around all the time. It's about knowing that you're not walking this road alone. It's about being seen, heard, valued. So let's keep that circle alive, however small, however humble. And now, we'd love to hear from you. Do you have a friend who's made your life better as you've grown older? Someone who brings joy, comfort, or just makes the days feel a little lighter? Share your story in the comments, because your experience may remind someone else that friendship doesn't fade with age. It grows deeper. And if this message spoke to your heart, pass it on. Someone out there may be waiting to hear exactly this.